Question: how do I motivate myself to go to the gym? And how do you motivate yourself after going to the gym for more than 10 years consistently? And don't you think gym is pointless by now? By forcing yourself to hit the gym consistently for a month, no matter what the circumstances, so you can build up a habit or a routine in the deeper structure of your brain until the process becomes unconscious and automatic. You have to rewrite the software, which is the mind, to modify the hardware, which is the body, with a self-recursive motivational algorithm. Then the meatsuit will build itself without your help. You may replace gym with any other keywords like quote-unquote keto or vegan or no fab or a piano for the same effect. Meditation is the most meta of all keywords because it's upgrading the deepest structure, aka the screen, that gives rise to all content. Because consciousness is the prior condition in which all your experiences arise from. Have discipline in that in consciousness work, and you'll upgrade the entire structure of your reality. Everything else will take care of itself. See, when I first started to meditate, you have to consciously be aware of things. But awareness now, for me, is just something that's there. Everything that I perceive, every single object, it's aware by itself. It has its own awareness and luminosity. And it's not just that the objects are aware. All the spaces in between objects are equally awake and aware. And because everything is made up of it, including my body, my meatsuit, there's absolutely no separation anywhere. Infinite awareness is aware of itself, by itself, as itself, without the character's help. Once you meditate enough to shift from a perceiver behind your eyes and inside your head to the ultimate operating system, it's like the breakthrough of 5-MeO DMT, but you can actually access it natural because it's your most natural state. When I go through life now, it just feels like I'm sitting inside a self-driving spaceship. Okay, let's use a diagram to illustrate this. So at first, you are a person, a meatsuit, and then your sense of identity is this little person inside the head of the meatsuit. You're just walking around the world, and then you perceive yourself as this avatar that's being separated from the world that you're interacting with. And then, as you unfold, as you become more and more expensive, you start to flip yourself inside out. And your sense of self and your identity, quote-unquote identity, becomes like this bubble of awareness that's encapsulating the character or the meatsuit. So now it's just, you see a little bubble here, and then you're the characters in the bubble, and you're sort of rolling around the world like a hamster that's cycling in the midst of that bubble, and then you're just kind of, moving through space. But then as you awaken even more and you expand that bubble, awareness expands and extends infinitely towards all directions. But then there's still a little speck there in the center, sort of like a nucleus of an atom. And you got the electrons and everything else is circling around that nucleus. And physicists told us that, an atom is 99.99999% empty space. But you have to dissolve every single speck of solidity that separates you from the rest of the universe. Eventually, you go through a threshold where, when you reach singularity, and the atom now becomes waves of infinite potentialities, just like what physics told us what atoms really are. Finally, there's no more bubble, and there's no more character, there's no more hamster inside. It's just one unification, suchness, beingness, the isness of existence. It's just a sense of all pervasiveness and omniscience. There's only infinity
recognizing itself. There's only the Godhead perceiving itself. In reality, fucking itself raw with no condom.
Kobe Bryant had just died, and I used to watch his highlight reels when I practice the violin to get into the flow state. He practices mindfulness every day, and he even meditates with Zen monks. So some pictures of it, and he's always talking about the mind. One of those players that truly embodies emptiness bouncing. He's a lot more fluid and graceful and streamlined than LeBron or even Jordan, always floating and dancing very closely to the source where he inevitably returns and transcends to. But I was even more fascinated by the reactions to his death. When I first heard about it, it was literally felt like a glitch in the matrix. And that matrix is the collective hallucination of separate selves and the mutual consent of what we agree on is important and quote-unquote real. See, if money is the most successful story ever told in history of mankind, then basketball is another one of those stories. See, in and of itself, money has no objective value, but then like master storytellers like big bankers and finance ministers, they come and they tell a very successful and convincing story. Basketball, language, law, pretty much everything else in this place that we call reality are all floating and dancing and drifting on groundless ground like a house of cards that can collapse anytime. See, hundreds of thousands of people die every day, yet we mourn over the passing of one single entity because we've all agreed on a single story that putting a rubber ball inside a hoop is an essential fabric of our matrix and survival. This is why the divine imagination is so aesthetic to watch and unfold, and it's what makes us human. So we grieve over Kobe's death largely because it's a mortality reminder to ourselves. So in a sense, it's kind of like an act of self-preservation, a means for survival, both on the individual level, again, to maintain the illusion of the separate self. Because Kobe is sort of like the max effort manifestation of a separate self, and also on the collective level of the system, the matrix. And when there's a glitch, like an unpredictable virus attack, the matrix goes into an overdrive to sustain itself at all costs through this unconscious subsistence, such as, or manifested by something like this video alongside millions of other people who are paying tribute to his death and voicing their opinions. But death is only a legit concept on the relative and biological level, where life begins and ends with the contour of the individual meatsuit. See, from the ultimate level, this line, again, like I said before, is imaginary, and you've never been apart from the one or the source, where everyone you know and don't know was, still is, and will return to it inevitably, either before their death, if they get enlightened, or after their death. See, consciousness is the way information feels like when it's arranged and processed a certain way, a certain complex way. That's just another way, more quote-unquote scientific way of saying how something arises from nothing. Then the information that is quote-unquote Kobe Bryant is being processed
more rapidly, more pervasively, and more omnisciently and fluently than ever before inside other people's minds, bodies, and hearts. But on the even higher level of the absolute, our quote-unquote selves are never located inside bodies or minds or even space and time itself, but that all those interfaces are merely sub-information processes within the infinite interconnected network that capital N scientists call the universe and spiritual cons call Brahman, and what I call your most natty state. If you perceive reality in this interconnected and non-local, non-physical, non-temporal, non-linear way, then all that predictions on Twitter or in the comic books, even if it's true, it's not that mind-blowing.
Love is divinity, recognizing divinity.